that slaps.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to Still Slaps Music Reviews. I'm Shuby, songwriter and rapper here for Still Slaps. Today, we have our music review for the full new deluxe album for Taylor Swift's Fearless. This is going to be Taylor's version of some older songs that she had earlier on in her career from her 2006 album Fearless. This was a nice little experiment album for myself because I personally only knew of a couple of songs from Taylor Swift's Fearless album from her 2006 release. I went back and listened to some of Taylor's older material. Obviously, that Fearless album that came out years ago. She had some solid singles from there that I was able to refresh my memory with. One of those was You Belong With Me, and I would like to start off by saying that single still slaps to this day. I consider it to be a classic in Taylor's discography, but we're gonna get into the start of the review for, first of all, the slappers that I have for this updated deluxe album that Taylor dropped off of her version. I have White Horse, You Belong With Me, Love Story, Tell Me Why, Forever and Always, The Best Day, Change, Jump Then Fall, Untouchable, Forever and Always, the piano version, Come In With the Rain, We Were Happy, That's When, Don't You, and The Way I Loved You. So those are a few solid album slappers that I have off of Taylor's version for the updated Fearless album. And then obviously the transition from Taylor's older release for Fearless. Now, I also did have some updated ones that I'm gonna think it's Colby Kaye. That's how you pronounce her name. Breathe featuring Colby Kaye. Now, this was interesting because, like I said, I was able to kind of go back briefly and listen to the Fearless album in full. It was just really interesting to be able to go back to Taylor's old catalog and really get an idea of the younger version of Taylor, the younger songwriter, the teenager who was cranking out all these songs, and to be able to see her growth from a lot of different key songs that she was able to update on this new version. Now, I want to specifically talk about a couple of things. On the first listen, I right away wrote down some songs that I was gonna immediately revisit on Taylor's version that just dropped. And three of those songs were Breathe, You're Not Sorry, and The Way I Loved You. So for me, with Breathe on the Fearless 2006 version, for Fearless, I noticed that Taylor, when she was performing the song, her younger self, it was really, really interesting to note that Breathe, first of all, beautiful production, beautiful instrumental. Her and Colby Kaye complimented each other really well, I want to say, on that performance. But with Breathe in particular, I noticed that younger Taylor, when she went to go perform that run on the 2008 version of Fearless, her runs for the breathe, it was a little choppy. It was a little choppy. She didn't hit it as good as she maybe have wanted it to back then. Now, transition to Taylor's updated version of Fearless. This was really cool because I noticed right off the bat when I wrote down for songs revisited for this updated version that Taylor went back into the studio and reperformed Breathe. I don't know if Colby Kaye came into the picture for this time around for the updated version, but I did notice that Taylor was able to really make that run go a little smoother on Breathe. And that to me was it was a beautiful moment because it really showed you that there are a couple of moments on this updated version where Taylor is really taking these songs and really going back into the archives and cranking out more of her better performances. It doesn't just feel like a regurgitation, so to speak, for lack of better term. She really does take these songs and rework them in a way that they still sound like her own and still sound timeless in her own right for her catalog. And Breathe was a great example of that. On You're Not Sorry, I did feel like updated Taylor, older Taylor on Fearless, she was also able to kind of make the song work a little bit more smoothly. I think in my listen, for whatever reason, younger Taylor, for You're Not Sorry in particular, that track, it seemed like younger Taylor had she had too much of a moody emphasis that kind of overshadowed the song. But in the updated version, in this Taylor's version for this new drop, this deluxe edition, she was able to make it work a little bit more smoothly. That performance, it kind of spoke a little bit more clearly through the speakers. It feels like it feels unique, you know. It feels like she's flowing smoother, even though it does come off as a rant type of record. Now, I really did appreciate that, because like I said, that experience does make this new edition really stand on its own 2 feet and give Taylor more of that emphasis that she deserves from having this really strong catalog of songs. Love that a lot about this album, man. You just have those moments where Taylor really goes in. You can feel in the studio how she has that growth in her voice, and it really makes these songs, like I said, just pop out a lot better. And it gives Taylor such a boost, because it's been years. This was, you know, she was a teenager when she originally recorded these songs, and had all these other songs that she was stacking up, writing in the writing sessions that were unreleased. And this just feels like a better, this feels like just such a more impactful experience when you go in and you consider the time, and you consider Taylor trying to really bring in that uniqueness to these performances, even though these songs are years and years old. Highlighted moments for me on this record, I really, like I said, You Belong With Me. If you to this day are are trying to pass off that record, you're lying to yourself. That is still a slap. I still love that amazing chorus that Taylor incorporated in, and it's so dope that she was able to do that going back in the day. When you really look at the archives and you're able to appreciate Taylor's growth, like I said, that's going to be a thing that constantly comes up in this review, in my review. Taylor has really proven herself as the powerhouse songwriter, from being the younger girl that she was, a teenager, to now adulthood, obviously well in her 30s. It really does speak for itself. It stands on its own 2 feet. You Belong With Me is a classic slapper and a half. I really, like I said, love the chorus. Still love that production on the track. It still stands the test of time. And that is something in itself to really give Taylor her props for. Love Story, obviously, this, when it comes down to some of the songwriting on this thing, you have that vintage Taylor who wanted to really prove that she can tell stories in her own way. It doesn't have to be formatted in a way that may be generic to other singers. This was Taylor just embracing that side of herself, who wanted to show and tell, show versus tell rather. And she does that a lot to her own ability on Love Story. When I went back, I noticed that Taylor, even though with Fearless, she had a defined sound that she maybe the label wanted to push at that time for Taylor. that country-esque sound. She had that. She had it wrapped in the bag. She did have those highlights on the older album that when you listen to it, if you really pay attention to it, you're like, you know, she has more in her, you know, that's really gonna ultimately define her in being able to reinvent herself with her sound. And years went by where Taylor was able to reinvent herself. She was able to reinvent her sound. She was able to really give you that foreshadowing in Fearless. And this is not something that you just see in the updated version, but it kind of gives Taylor that superpower effect, in my opinion. It solidifies more of why Taylor is where she is at today. Notice that with production on songs like Change. This is prior to listening to Taylor's updated version. Change was a great, powerful switch up in that change in production that you weren't used to hearing. Notice that Change, wink wink, the instrumental, the sonic of this production on that record that really spoke, like I said, to Taylor's other side of her skill as a younger songwriter. You could just see the tipping point there. Jump Then Fall was another one to me. This just really redefines in your mind just how great, talented that Taylor is with these choruses. The Jump Then Fall chorus ride, you could just vibe to that alone, and I really appreciated that highlight that she really just put into your face on the updated version and the older version. Jump Then Fall, great chorus ride. Forever and Always. I'm a sucker for like I told you guys in the Justin Bieber review, I'm a sucker for a pop star, country star like Taylor, who's able to just really kind of silence the noise, not really have too much backing production. And I think this is a standout on tracks like Forever and Always, the piano version. Taylor is able to fill that space very, very well. Really ride that piano, that melody that she was incorporating in there. Beautiful, beautiful ride. You can't go wrong with that. Easy W for her on that track. Come In With The Rain. This instrumental was so buttery. Oh my goodness, man. That's definitely gonna be a repeat for me, playlist heavy. Taylor, the instrumental was so wavy. That hook was so stellar. She did not miss when it came to that delivery. She does that a couple more times. That's when it's slipping me who is on that duet with her for That's When. But the instrumental change in that, it kind of had more of a bounce on that production. Those drums, when they came in, you're riding to that. And she with Taylor with her duet, that male vocalist who's on that track, it was a beautiful wave in sonics, a beautiful change up. And you also, like I said, we talked about how Taylor, prior to the updated version, years and years, when Fearless originally dropped, you hear that influence from songs like Change, of how this is a young star who is going to eventually be able to redefine her sound, get into that lane of the bigger pop star situation, the bigger pop star conversation. Does that even more so with the song Don't You. She has clean vocal effects on there that the producer was able to kind of work with that engineer, and give her that cool enhancement to her vocals that's able to really give that atmospheric feel to a song like Don't You. It just pulls you into her performance. It doesn't matter if she's been talking about the same thing, doesn't matter if she's talking about the same theme. How are you going to evolve and pull me into your track? She does it really well with the assistance of the engineer, who is able to really go in and really give her that ear candy that she needed to pull her audience in ever more so on Don't You, and just really solidify those sonics in your brain. You don't forget. There was also, like I said, songs like The Best Day, where Taylor is really reflecting on memory. She's using memory really well here, and kind of getting away from the traditional songwriting structure. There's not really a hook that stands out in your mind on tracks like The Best Day. She's trying to prove to you that she's not just a traditional country young singer who is going to regurgitate, for a lack of better term, these, same type of techniques in her songwriting. She's very good at that, and she needs her flowers for that. So I'm giving it to her on that. I really enjoyed that. Even though it's not as appealing to the ear as these other songs, it is a testament to Taylor's skill, and I can definitely appreciate that as a upcoming songwriter myself. Untouchable, great build up in that production. Great energy from Taylor. She was floating on that. What Taylor has been through in her career, what she's had to go through, from her mess with the contracts, what she's had to go through from some of these records already leaking, and having to kind of prove that she can still give it her own taste. So I have to just really give her as much props in the world. This was a great album. It was great to really go back and see how far Taylor has come, like I've said time and time in this review, and to see the updated version. I also want to talk about Mr. Perfectly Fine. That's vintage Taylor to me. That's vintage Taylor. Taylor knew what she was doing with that. Mr. Perfectly Fine is a ride. It's a ride, whether you're into that type of thing or not. You have to understand that that is a pocket. That's a lane that Taylor, when she gets into it, there's no coming back. And that's what she did. Mr. Perfectly Fine was a slap. I could definitely see why, fans are eating that up. She was able to really just capitalize. Feel like Taylor really does deserve her flowers from seeing this comparison, just going from the 2008 or to the updated version now. It just really does give you a testament. It gives you strength as a songwriter to say, you know what, as time goes on, I'm going to evolve. I'm going to be able to reach back in my older catalog, and I'm going to be able to surprise my fans and really show them that, yes, I can still stand the test of time, and I can still give you some wholesome content. You can put this on top. If this is on your album of the years list, even though this album came out years ago and some of these have been leaked already, you may have heard them, fans may have heard them, this is still a huge W for Taylor, and we have to start championing songwriters who've been around like Taylor and who have just really just capitalized off of the good grace of their listeners, and have really shown time and time again that they have the work ethic and that they're willing to go in and continue to make history in their own right, in their own catalog. If you like the review, please make sure to leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe. Tell me what you liked about this rework of Taylor's album, Taylor's version for Fear. Will you be slapping these slappers on this album? Will you be listening out for more possible reworks of older projects from Taylor? Taylor Swift, Taylor's version of Fearless still slaps. Shuby, take it easy, guys. Stay safe. Peace.